So, my wife and I are out fiddle farting around last weekend. As we often do on the weekend, we will fiddle fart. And as we're kicking down the road, we're running up on a guitar center. I thought, you know what? Let me run in there real quick and see if I can find some of these string dampeners. Because, in my band, I play in very high gain amp settings. And these are nice to have from time to time. So I have put them on my guitars. And by the way, they're extremely overpriced. These are like $20 a piece for 35 cents worth of material. Made by Ernie Ball. Ernie Ball, shame on you for selling them for that price. Now, granted, you probably sell them to Guitar Center for next to nothing, and they jack the hell out of the price. Probably could have got them off of Amazon for a hell of a lot less, but, convenience is a big factor. So, anyway, as you know, if you've been keeping up with this, I've been looking for that other guitar to buy. And I had it narrowed down between three guitars. I had it between a Les Paul, an Ibanez, and a EVH, Wolfgang. And the Gibson Modern, which I absolutely love. I did play one, and I really, 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 really like it. But what I really want is a Les Paul Access with a Floyd Rose on it. But the cost is just asinine. We're talking about $5,500, $6,000. And I'm just like, I can't. I simply cannot pay that price for a guitar that I'm going to gig with. I cannot do it. And it just so happens that my wife was messing around on Facebook, that marketplace thing, which is the worst thing in the world. I like Craigslist so much better than the marketplace. But just because of all the ads, I can't get past the ads. I get pissed off and I turn it off. I probably should have put this video on my Angry Guy Hates Everything channel because Facebook Marketplace just pisses me off. But she finds a Les Paul Access in town, locally. And believe it or not, it is an iguana burst. There's two guitars I've been chasing for years that I want, but I'm not going to pay an asinine price for it to play on a show. Now, if I was going to collect it, that's a different story. But the two is a purple quilt top Peavey Wolfgang. When you find them in mint condition, you might as well just cut your leg off and hand it to them because that's what it's going to cost you. And the other one is an iguana burst Les Paul Access. When they made those, they made a very short run, and they went for like $5,500, $6,000 back then. And we're talking 10, 12 years ago. And they're nearly impossible to find. And when you do find them, they're, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 in good shape. Guy had one here locally, and I was like, oh my God, I have found my guitar. This is it. So the guy is wanting $43,000 for it. So instantly, my wife grabs it. The guy's like, I'll take $38,000. And I was like, $38,000? Oh my, I don't know if I can pass this up. Is there anything wrong with the guitar? Well, it's got a crack in the finish in the back of the neck, and he sends me a picture of it. Can't do it, dude. Can't do $38,000 for that. First off, that was an odd crack because it went all the way around the neck, right where the neck joins in at the heel joint. It went all the way around. And even though it was probably a stress fracture, that's a very odd one when it goes all the way around. So that leads me to believe that guitar was put under undue stress at one point for something. And besides, if I paid the $38,000 for it, I'm going to have to now take another $500, send it to my buddy, who's going to send it to his buddy that repaints it to have that fixed. So now I'm right back at $4,300. Well, shit, I might as well just fork out the $55,000 for a new one. Even though I can't get an iguana burst, I can still get a brand new Access for that for, a few $100s more. So I completely took that off the table. Now, I do like the Modern a lot, but the thing that gets me about the Modern is they kind of did a half-assed job between the Standard and the Access. The Standard has that big block in the back, and to me, with my little freaking hands, I have no access to the 22nd fret. So the Modern alleviates that, but they took the heel and they shaved it down thin, but it's got that corner on it that digs right there into the palm of my hand. And on the Access, it's completely gone. Well, why didn't they just do that on the Modern? Why didn't they just file it down another 1/4 inch and be done with the whole thing? Why do a half-assed job on it? But it is Gibson. So there is that. But I still like the Modern. I played one, and it does play very, very well, and I can reach the 22nd fret. Obviously, that's important. So I played that. I eliminated the Ibanez simply because I have a lot of Ibanezes. That's something I can get down the road some other times. I've got Ibanez guitars. So I thought, okay, this is going to lead me between the Gibson and the MIJ Wolfgang. So lo and behold, when I walk into Guitar Center to get this, now the wife is out. She hits another store, and they're doing what wives do when they're out shopping. They go to stores, and they'll go in for one item and come out with 568 items. And that's cool. That's what she wants to do. It makes her happy. I'm good with that. So to where I go into Guitar Center to buy this, and I come out with this. That's the difference. And so while I'm in there, lo and behold, much to my surprise, much to my amazement, they have an American and an MIJ Wolfgang sitting in there, which I find astounding, because normally when you go into Guitar Center, they have every guitar in this world you want, as long as it's a PRS, a Gibson, or a Fender. If you want anything else, tough shit. Not happening. Those are the three models they push, they carry, and that's it. So I thought, fantastic. I'm going to get a chance to play both of these guitars, and I can do a direct comparison because I just got through playing a show on my Wolfgang. So my Peavey Wolfgang, my 1996 Peavey Wolfgang. So I jump over there, I grab the American, I hook it up, playing one of those Fender things that is supposed to be like a fractal, which is not a fractal by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, it was cool for what it was, but I would buy the fractal or a Kemper. I'd buy one of those two first. But I play it. The guitar plays very, very well. Now, the vintage frets took me a second to kind of get accustomed to, because when I have my frets changed down on my guitars, and when I go, even if it has a stainless steel, and for some reason I end up changing them out, but all the guitars that have that nickel, I go with a vintage tall fret. It's called a skinny. It's very, playing the guitar this way, it's very skinny this way, but it's almost as tall as a jumbo. And I love those. And they're called skinny talls, from what I understand. And love those frets. So it took me a minute to kind of get accustomed to those vintage frets, which are very skinny and very low. They're a very low profile on them. And the guitar played well. And so I thought, okay, I played this, checked it out, flipped it around, kind of get a feel for the guitar, touch, feel, twist, push everything, see how it all works. The guitar was good. It was very good. But with that very good guitar also came a very good price tag. They had it in there, I think it was $38.99. Don't hold me to that exactly. And that's too much for the guitar, in my opinion. Hence, that's what got me onto the MIJ. So I was like, fantastic. We got a stealth MIJ sitting over here. Now, the difference between the two is the Wolfgang they had was a standard Wolfgang. It was an American Wolfgang, but it was standard. The MIJ is a replica of the EVH Wolfgang, that has the kill switch with the eye screws in it. So I jump onto the MIJ, and I'm sitting there thinking, shit, I may actually buy a guitar from Guitar Center. I don't like buying guitars from Guitar Centers. You buy a guitar from Guitar Center, you don't know how many 9-year-old, snot-nosed, dirty, greasy-handed crumb cruncher has been in there trying to tune that guitar that has a tremolo down to drop sharp C, and go in there and beat the life out of that guitar. And that's why I will not buy a guitar at Guitar Center. If it's not in a box, never been touched, I don't want it. I'm not going to pay a premium price on a guitar that every punk in the world has sweated all over. I'm just not going to do it. And in my opinion, if you go into a guitar store and the guitar is hanging on the wall, it should automatically have a $400 discount, because it's going to have to be set up and it's going to have new strings on it. Granted, they will do that, but I don't know how many people played it, and it's already got pick scratches on it and the whole 9 yards. I'm just not going to do it. But this one was a stealth. Don't have to worry about pick scratches, and it's there, and I'm having a very hard time finding one. If I like it, I'm buying it. I'm on it. It's mine. So I get the guitar, I plug it back up, and clink, 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 clink. I'm like, what the hell? Immediately, when I'm playing the high E, it's rolling off of the bottom of the neck. And I thought, hang on. So I'm checking the guitar out, kind of feeling it, this, that, the other, so on and so on and so on. It feels exactly like the Mexican Wolfgang that I bought. I bought a Mexican one, minus the stainless steel frets. I bought a Mexican one, and they don't make this one anymore. It was the Wolfgang that was striped, like the Frankenstrat, but it was the high gloss one. And now they make that flat one, but they don't make this one anymore. Well, I did a video on that guitar and how disappointed I was in it. And one of the big disappointments is when I looked at the guitar, when I was looking down the neck, there's a massive space between the low E and the edge of the fretboard, and a very teeny tiny space between the high E and the edge of the fretboard. And when I was playing it with the rolled frets, any vibrato whatsoever, even the most minute, and the string was rolling off the bottom of the neck. And that was driving me crazy on that Mexican one. Well, the Japanese one did exactly the same thing. So I immediately grabbed the guitar and I flip it over, and sure enough, there's a bigger gap on the top side between the string and the edge of the fretboard than there is on the bottom side. Now, granted, there's going to be a little bit of a difference because the low E is a much thicker string. It's a 42 gauge as opposed to a 9 on a high E. But it's still too close to the edge of the fretboard. Maybe it's just my playing style, but I have this problem on no other guitar I've ever owned in my life except that Mexican Wolfgang. And now I'm having the same issue on the Japanese Wolfgang. So what do is I go grab the American guitar. Now I'm looking at them side by side, and there was a difference. There was a little bit more room on the American on the high E side than on the Japanese guitar. Now, and both guitars are set up basically the same. They both have the switch, in my opinion, is the correct way. Les Paul is backwards. To when you flip it up, you're on the rear pickup, because on a Les Paul, when you flip it down, you're on the rear pickup. And then when you tap and you're moving, what happens is your arm hits the switch and flips it up onto the neck pickup. So in my opinion, the Les Paul is backwards. The Eddie Van Halen got that right. Now, in the Mexican Wolfgang, it was the opposite. It was set up like a Les Paul, but the Japanese and the American were the same way. When you flip them up, it's the rear pickup. But I was sitting there looking at him, and I could tell a slight difference in between the two. And so now I'm thinking, okay, so does the Mexicans and the Japanese have a different set of instructions on how to build a Wolfgang as opposed to the American ones? This is making no sense to me. Now, besides that, the guitars felt and played very, very, very similar. But through the whole thing, every little aspect of the American one felt a little better than the Japanese one, which stuns me because I love Japanese guitars. If you've watched my channel, you know how much I love the Ibanez guitars. I think the Japanese make an amazing, amazing guitar. Or maybe it's just that Ibanez makes an amazing Japanese guitar. I'm not sure yet because the only Japanese guitars I have just happen to be Ibanez guitars. But I was very disappointed in the MIJ, almost to the point of, now not as bad as the Mexican one, because the Mexican one had other issues on top of that. But still, at $26.99, $27.99, I expected more out of that guitar than what I got. And I was very disappointed in the MIJ Wolfgang. It was not, I guess I just built it up so highly in my head that when I finally got my hands on it, I was just completely deflated. And even the American one, I liked it. I wasn't like, holy shit, I got to buy this guitar. Because when I compare either one of those guitars to my Peavey guitars, they fell in comparison. Now, maybe it's just because I've been playing Peavey guitars for so long that it's just feels a little more natural to me. The Peavey guitar is a little chunkier feeling than the new EVHs, the MIJ, because the MIJ and the American holding it feel exactly the same. And the Peavey is a little chunkier, and maybe the body's just a little thicker. It kind of feels like when I'm holding it. What I do like about the Peaveys is I love the bird's eye maple neck and fretboard. Absolutely love that. That neck on those EVH guitars I can't even compare them to the neck on my Peavey. There's no comparison. My Peavey necks are by far superior feeling than the ones on the new EVHs. And I was so let down by that because I had such high hopes about this guitar. And because it was going to be the guitar I was buying, I pretty much almost had my mind set up. And luckily, I got a chance to buy one before I ordered one. And the Peavey necks, they just feel superior. They simply feel superior. Now, maybe it's just because mine have been played so much. Because, as you play a guitar throughout the years, things kind of start shaping and moving and all that. Maybe it's just that I've played them so much. and I've got so much of me inside those necks, the oil off of my hands and all that stuff. On my 96 Tobacco Burst, that neck is nearly flawless. It is one of the best playing necks. The only thing that I can even compare as far as a good playing neck is my J Custom Ibanez, which is just an astounding neck on a guitar. But like I said, holding those two, they feel very similar. Now, the down points of both those guitars is obviously the MIJ, with the low E being that low to the edge of the fretboard. I roll it off. I simply can't have that. The other thing that was driving me absolutely batshit crazy about the MIJ were those stupid eye hooks they put in them. I do not like that. Because when I'm holding a guitar, when I'm playing, just sitting around playing a guitar, I usually put it on this leg and play it this way. And that eye hook was digging into my thigh like crazy. So I ended up having to play the guitar this way, which I do not like. To me, this is just awkward playing this way in a sitting position. If the guitar's down here, it's not bad. But up here is, this hand. I mean, look at it. It just doesn't work this way, man. And so and then I could play the American one like this. So it played much easier in that position. But I hated those eye screws. I did not like that. Another thing that I wasn't a big fan of is simply the extremely low friction pot on it. Now, I understand why Eddie Van Halen did it, because he's Eddie Van Halen. I am not Eddie Van Halen. So let's get that clear. But the way I play is sometimes, every once in a blue moon when I'm playing, my pinky will hit the volume knob, and that low friction, you can literally go and it'll turn. I mean, it is insane how much this thing turns with absolutely no friction at all. I mean, you could almost flip it and it'll all the way down. And I see the advantage of it. If you do a lot of volume stuff like that, I do like that. But I like something with a little more friction in it, because sometimes we got some songs that at the end of the song, it just cuts off. Now, if I'm playing my J Custom, I just hit my kill switch on it. If I'm not, I just slam that volume off. But even on the EVH, when I slam it off and let go, it'll actually roll back just a hair that I noticed. And I wasn't a big fan of that either. But I left the guitar store and instantly came home and plugged in my Peavey. And I'm going to tell you now, and maybe it's just me. You can disagree with me all you want. It doesn't matter if you disagree with me. I really don't care, to be honest with you, because it's my guitar. It's how I like it. Now, I'm not doing this video saying that you shouldn't buy this guitar. I'm doing this video on why I didn't like the guitar. But my Peavey felt better in every sense of the guitar. On everything, it felt better. The neck felt better. Just the way it sat on me, maybe it's because it's a little thicker, I don't know, felt better. The neck was by far worlds better on my Peavey. And the thing that got me the most is when I was at Guitar Center, and the kid that works down there, which I don't know him, but I know him, one of those things. When I was hanging the Wolfgang back up, the American, he said, "How you like it?" I said, "Dude, it's not half what my Peavey is." And he looked around to make sure nobody else was around him. He said, "Bro, it's made by Fender. What did you expect?" And I thought, maybe he's got a point. It's made by Fender. What did I expect? Because my Peavey is by far a better feeling playing guitar than the Wolfgangs. Now, I love the sound of my Peavey Wolfgangs, and I can't talk about the sound directly. Playing the American and the MIJ into the same rig, they sounded pretty much exactly the same. I couldn't tell a difference. I did not get a chance to play my Peavey through it, but just from my ears on my rig, which I set their rig up, I used the same amps, on their little Fender thing, the same amps, the same reverb, the same delays. The only thing that would have been different would have been the cab, and I do understand that does make a difference. But on my unit, through my system, my Peavey sounds better. Now, granted, I would like to take my Peavey down there and play it again through that same setup to see the difference. But right now, as it is, the EVH Wolfgangs, they're off the table. I simply didn't like them enough. I don't like them enough to pay the almost $4,000 for the American. And I was so disappointed by the MIJ that I simply can't spend the $2,700 on it. I was so disappointed by that guitar. The Peavey to me feels better. The neck is without a doubt a better neck. No, I mean, and that point I will argue. And if you live close to me, by all means, bring your guitar down here. If you got an EVH, I'll let you play my 96 Wolfgang, and I'll let you compare them for yourself. There's no comparison between the two. But as far as sound, like I said, I can't really tell you one or the other, because even though I had the same type of rig, it was through a different unit, so I can't A/B the sounds directly. But one thing I did notice right out of the gate is I was not a big fan of the compound radius on the Wolfgangs. I do like the straight 15s on the Peaveys. Now, this is just a me thing, because my Ibanez's are 16.75, and I like that. I never have been a big fan of compound radiuses. And besides my one little standard EVH that I bought that I'm going to tear apart and do something with and rebuild it, I have sold every guitar I've ever had with a compound radius. And like I said, maybe that's just a me thing. I'm not a big fan of it. Because I had a Sir that had a compound radius. And that guitar was insanely expensive, and I ended up selling it. I just, but me and that Sir we had a serious love-hate relationship with Sir. Serious love-hate relationship. But comparing all those three guitars, and I played two of them at the same time, but I just got through playing a show with my Peavey, and then I came home and played it again. So I have a pretty direct comparison between the three. I think the Peavey is head and shoulders above the other two guitars. Now, what I would like to have done is walked in there, and they actually had an HP2 hanging in there, which is basically the EVH minus the Eddie Van Halen signature, and without the D-Tuna. But they may have changed the pickups. Don't hold me to that. They may have done something with the pickups. I'm not sure. But other than that, the guitar is virtually the same. Beautiful guitars. But again, overpriced. So that's all I can say about that as far as the comparison side. So I have eliminated the Wolfgangs off of my list. As great as the EVH guitars are, I still think the Peavey's a better guitar. I think hands down it's a better guitar. And if I had $3,000, if I found a dead mint Peavey as opposed to a new one, I would buy the Peavey every single time. So that's just my notes on those guitars. The search continues. Still got the Modern in the back of my head. One of the guys jumped on my channel and told me to check out the Hagströms. I've never played a Hagström guitar. Actually, I don't even know if I've ever seen one around here. There was one at a vintage shop I saw a few years ago. I didn't play it. I can't get past the headstocks. They look like fly swatters. They're just massively big. I could throw wheels on it and drive it down to the store. But he said, I can't remember the guy's name, but he said he owns PRSs, Gibsons, Fenders, yada, yada. He said he has two Hagströms, which are two of the cheapest guitars that he's bought. And he said those two Hagströms play better than everything else he has. And, and I believe him, of course. I mean, why would he lie, about something so obscure on a guitar I'm not even looking at? But he said, check out the Hagström. And, of course, I still have a lot of people telling me to check out the Keisel. Now, the problem I have with the Keisel is in order to get the one that I want, I would have to order it. And if I order it, if I don't like it, tough shit, it's mine. So I'd have to get one of their generic guitars that are not exactly how I would want it, play it and see if I like it, send that one back. I have to buy it, send it back, then order the one I want, and pray to God it plays like the one I sent back. And to me, that's just too much. That's just too damn much. They just need to send me their guitar. And I'm not saying because I have a YouTube channel, let me pick out the guitar that I really, 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 really like and the color I like. And if I don't like it, they need to let me return it. I think it's kind of bullshit that I say, hey, I want this guitar, but I want it in this color. They make that guitar in that color, and then I'm stuck with it if I like the guitar or not. And they really don't have, if I did one, I'd probably do the Jason Beckham. They make the one with the four controls on it, the 2-volume, 2-tone. That's probably the one I would try first above everything else. But I'm going to wrap this video up right there. The search continues for the next guitar. If you have any ideas or anything, send it to me. Because I'm always out looking to see what's out there, to see what the next guitar is. And as of right now, the Les Paul Modern is still at the top of the list, but I'm not ready to pull a trigger on that. I've had 3 Les Pauls in the past. I've sold all 3 of them. And now the Modern is a different beast. I did like the way it sounded. I did like the way it felt. But it wasn't one of those, I played it, and I was like, I got to have it. Like my J Custom was. When I played that, I had to have it. Or my Prestiges or, whatever have you. So, on that note, we're going to wrap that up right there. If you have any questions or comments, please drop it down into the question and comment section. If you have any suggestions on guitars, let me know. I'm always looking for something else. And it's kind of interesting going out and looking for all these different guitars and playing these guitars. And please subscribe to the channel. The best thing you can do to help support me is subscribe to my channel. It is free, and if you want to help further, you can jump over to my Patreon page. I haven't put a video up in a couple of weeks. We just had a lot of things going on. My Great Dane rolled my my dachshund, and I mean rolled him, dude, jacked him hard. He was running. My Great Dane was running through the door, 150 pounds. Dachshund was in the doorway. There's somebody in the neighbor's backyard. My Great Dane didn't know. Blasted through the door, caught that dachshund, and just rolled his ass. So we had to take him to the emergency vet, not the regular vet where you can go in and just say, here's a few bucks, fix my dog. The emergency vet where it costs you a leg or at least a toe just to get in the damn door. So just had to deal with that crap and all that. So I haven't had a video up in a couple of weeks. So on that note, like the great Sammy Hagar says, if you miss a beat, you lose the rhythm and nothing falls into place. And no matter what you do, for the love of God, rock on.